Thanks very much for coming. I'm Gergana, and as Ben said, I'm going to be talking about how to be relevant in the 21st century, or at least what I think could help us have a bit more control over the exciting or scary future. But before I start, I want to start with a story about how I ended up on this stage. I was having a one-to-one meeting with my amazing boss at the other side of this cafe, and I was sharing with him, oh, I really love the adrenaline of being on stage. I really want to give one of these Tyson talks, but I don't know what to talk about. I think I should sign up first and then decide. And basically what I'm talking about today is kind of a mixture of things I find exciting and that I've recently read about, but also I kind of believe it's important for you to hear. And luckily enough, my talk that crossover area involves a lot of the things that we already, like my friends now already talked about, mental health and artificial intelligence. Before I move forward, I want to continue with telling you something more about my meeting with my manager. I was also sharing other things with him that day, telling him that I was struggling with keeping my attention and focused on the important tasks, or struggling with the need of constant stimuli, or maybe insulting my colleagues where, this is how I usually move around the office. And I arrive, in the meeting like that. And a friend of mine told that this might be offending to people, and I don't want to offend anyone. So I told him I was going to go to an adult ADHD assessment. I had an appointment with a psychiatrist, and I did get diagnosed 2 weeks ago, officially, moderate to severe ADHD. But I haven't got my meds yet, so bear with me. You might be wondering why I'm telling you this. One, I think it's a pretty good excuse if my talk makes zero sense. But more importantly, I believe that when facing ecological crisis and technological revolution that we all know we are, this is one of the ingredients that I believe is really important. So number one, is to be self-aware and to know who you are, and to be really introspective. First, honest and open with yourself, and then connect with other people and give them an example of, this is me. I let myself be seen, and then you connect with them. And then last but not least, really important, is to connect with our planet. First, to use the resources it gives to us in the way we're meant to use them, and of course, be more mindful about how we're spending of the resources we're not supposed to spend in such ways. And I believe that kind of the combination of these three, starting from the individual, so everyone has the power to make a difference, kind of will give us at least a little bit more control over whether the world's going to look like that or like this. But if you have to be honest, no one knows what the world's going to look in 2050, let alone 2100. Well, Yuval Harari, who is a guy that, the author of Homo Deus and Homo Sapiens, who I kind of base my talk on, he says, if someone describes the world of mid-21st century to you and it sounds like science fiction, it's probably false. But if it doesn't sound like science fiction, it is definitely false. From the 1990s, the internet has changed our life and our everything more than any other factor so far. And now, we talk about artificial intelligence. Our machines become much, much better at processing a lot of data, simultaneously gathering it with all the connected devices, and just basically dictating our lives. Nowadays, only few people can actually understand what's going on in the financial system. Imagine that soon, probably no one will. But most importantly, I want to say that it's not just the technological side of things that it's improving. We are understanding the human brain much, much better. So with advances in the biochemistry, we understand how our brain works, and then it's just like sending neurons firing at the same time and processing information. So by understanding that, then we can make the machines process the information, and basically it's going to be much more easy now to manipulate us, and they can predict our decisions, or they can kind of make us decide what we want and what we feel without we realizing it. I mean, propaganda has always been a thing, but it's going to become way more difficult to stay away out of it. That's why know thyself, as Socrates has said long, long time ago, I believe it's much, much more important today. Because, yeah, it's important that we're introspective. Meditation, mindfulness, self-awareness, all these things that I wish I had time to go in depth, but unfortunately I can't. Basically, what is the common between them is what talk it all about, to kind of think about your feelings and your motivations and your desires and cravings and think where they're coming from. Are they yours or were they manipulated from someone? So to exactly be aware and have a bit more control over your actions and really understand yourself and where your behavior is coming from. So kind of that was my first point. This is a nice quote, which is, to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. And I believe that once you do that, like, you're kind of really aware of who you are, and then the next step is not be afraid to show who you are to the rest of the world. But if we come back to AI, I tend to disagree slightly, but I guess I'm talking about the further future. That we talk that, yeah, they're going to take some of our jobs, but because as we get to understand that our intuition is actually just billions of neurons processing information at this exact, like at the spur of the moment regarding like what the situation is. But the thing is that these data models that we have in our brains, they've been wired when we were in the before agricultural revolution. So we are designed to be at our best when we're hunting in the forest. So basically, I believe that doctors, lawyers, yoga teachers, they could easily be replaced with a machine very, very soon. And then just for an example from a few days ago, I don't know whether you saw, but that's an art piece made by a computer that's been sold for $500,000. Not that I'm saying that this is much better and it's going to replace artists, but if we talk about art, how do we judge whether art is good or not? Some people say it's because we judge like how the emotional response from the audience. So let's go back to the AI understanding our emotions much better. And then if there's something that can read the signals read in our brain and then processing that data back, AI can actually see how we feel in real life. So if you take music, for example, which is probably the one that AI is going to take over first because it's mathematical input and output. They can create music for your mood, and then in real life they can learn what you like and what you dislike. Or even if you're like, oh, but I want to listen to music that everyone likes because this is how it brings people together. It can still like analyze and create much better pop music that would be likable by a lot more people than any other human can do, which I guess is a bit sad. But then I was thinking about this talk and asking some friends that are like artists, and I asked them, what is art for you? And they say, it's about expressing emotion. So it's not about just how the audience react. It's a mean for us to share how we feel. Thinking about AI and everything that it will become much better than we are, I think that one of the things it can never take away from us, and it's the most beautiful thing we can create, is that warm, fuzzy feeling you get in your chest when you connect with another person. When I go to you and say, I don't have my shit together. And then you say, me neither, I don't know what I'm doing. And then we share our pains and what we're going through. And that connection, I believe, it's one of the most beautiful things we can create, which again goes back to talk is talk, sharing who you are, and yeah, removing the mask, be your true honest self, then your voice could be heard. Be vulnerable. Don't be afraid to say, I love you first. Don't be afraid to go for something when there is no guarantee. Allow yourself to be seen and be authentic. This way, I believe you can create much stronger connection, which is needed now more than ever, because humans are known to be really good at creating tools, but not that good at using them. So we can create powerful tools, whether it's atomic bombs or Facebook or AI. But I believe that by being open and honest about what we want to do and how these things make us feel, we're going to have a brighter future. For example, Facebook, there was a study performed, first time like 20 years ago, saying that they were calling people and asking them how many close friends you have that that you can call like in the middle of the night in an emergency, and the most common answer was 5. 2 years ago, they repeated the same study, and the most common answer was 0. And I believe that by having the mask and pretending you know what's going on, and you're having this perfect life with these nice beach photos and this super healthy food on your table and these amazing friends that you're out in fancy bars every night, you're alienating yourself from the others. So I believe that we can use social media and the internet and this amazing connected world to connect with each other. I posted about my diagnosis on Facebook. Oh, sorry, I just my first reaction with my mom was like, why are you posting about this on Facebook? But then I said, why not? I mean, there's nothing to be ashamed of, and I want to speak out loud and I want to promote people being open and honest about their problems. And the nicest thing was that by the end of the day, 4 or 5 people had contacted me sharing their issues and asking me about my story and asking me for help. And that was just the exact same warm, fuzzy feeling I was talking about. That I think it's kind of what we have left. I don't want to be so negative, but kind of that's my message from the connect bit, and share it all, of course, sharing our experiences. This is just some bags from the School of Life, which is a really nice place in London that has videos on YouTube. But basically what I'm trying to say is don't be afraid to show you're crazy and just strut with it, because no one's normal, and that makes us appreciate each other more. And last but not least, our beautiful planet, experience it. I believe that by experiencing it and like going proper in nature and what it's supposed to be like, bushcrafting and foraging and cooking on fire, that makes you appreciate it so much more. And it also is a really nice space to go by yourself and have your introspective, reflecting moments when you distance yourself from your day-to-day busy life. Or also a really nice place to go with friends and connect over the fire and share stories. So I definitely recommend spending more times outdoor. Of course, it's proven that it's really good for your mental health. Our bodies and our brains and neurons were wired when there were no buildings and when there were no cars and when there was no internet. So we feel best back there, back in nature. And learn to protect it is very short, because you're all aware of it. Maybe less beef and more beans sometimes. And one last thing. Oh, I want to share with my team, who every single day someone says, I'm going to buy you a new bow for Christmas. I don't want a new bow for Christmas. This is not the best of repair jobs, but it works. So do my headphones. Anyways, my point is, be mindful about resources. Don't buy just because it's there and because it's shiny. So being human is our best superpower, is what I think is my message. And I also want to share that next time you see someone or you hear people going in the forest and meditating or sharing stories or something, don't think, oh, these crazy hippies, because I believe that they're onto something. And last but not least, there's some resources, but I don't have time to go into details, but if you contact me, I can give you all the details. Alex Hughes, Micro-Adventuring. I didn't ask you, but yeah, he knows the outdoor stuff. But always, you can contact me if you want to speak in more detail about any of these things, because I would love to. Thank you.